The Meeting in the Sky with God, of the Church Age. The meeting in the sky with God for Gentiles comes after spiritual growth and represents understanding the limitless colonizer ideology. Christ is associated with Christopher Columbus, an Italian, a part of the Republic of Genoa, whose expeditions initiated the first European colonization and thus capitalism, empowered by the Catholic monarchs, who upheld the canon laws and the Christian laws. Once Christopher landed in the Caribbean, he claimed islands like San Salvador, Bahamas, Cuba, and Hispaniola, modern Haiti/Dominican Republic, for Spain, establishing settlements and exploiting natives, the indigenous peoples who also were the original inhabitants of the Americas. Back then, the indigenous people had O-type blood whose origin is Africa. This opened Central and South America to widespread European colonization and capitalism over the following decades. The fulfillment in Daniel is a secret. It reveals that those who agrees that this type of capitalism over people helps promote a safe environment for future generations, which is a part of the spiritual growth with Christ, since Christopher's expeditions formed colonization in those regions acquired. For Druze, the meeting in the sky refers to the anticipated return of their divine leader, Al-Hakim aka Allah, who disappeared in 1021 but is revered as God incarnate, to usher in a new era of justice and peace, a golden age, with believers' souls constantly reincarnating until then, building up a spiritual reserve in the East, China/Tibet, for this final, world-transforming event. In the Druze faith, Christ is considered an important prophet of God, being among the 7 prophets who appeared in different periods of history. Blessings are needed by individuals who need God's favor and protection, and growth is needed by individuals who need God to prevent them from suffering harm or injury. While this includes all God's people, not everyone agrees that protection from harm or injury is needed as a favor by God, but all agrees that God can provide such favors. Those who disagree are considered the evil people of the world, who would rather not ask for such a favor from God to remain His people. Solar Eclipse News. The solar eclipse of 2019, a so-called Ring of Fire eclipse, occurred on Thursday, December 26, and skywatchers were lucky enough to see it in the Eastern Hemisphere. This was fantastic news. The solar eclipse was in the sign of Sea Goat, and the Sun changed signs on the solstice a few days ago, joining Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, who had already been hanging out in the sign of the Sea Goat. All planets were in the same sign, which created a significant amount of energy, and the effects of that eclipse were more pronounced and powerful than usual. This particular eclipse was aligned with Uranus, and the focus was on unexpected expectations, according to a numerical astrologist. Some thought the expectations would be blessings and growth, but that was far from what transpired. Each sign in the zodiac experienced this dynamic energy differently, and it had a big influence on all of our lives for the upcoming year 2020. Jupiter is the 5th planet, Saturn is the 6th planet, Uranus is the 7th planet, and Pluto is the 9th planet from the Sun. The zodiac sign of Capricorn is represented by the symbol of the goat, more precisely, a sea goat. Capricorns aren't the ones who would seek the limelight because they make up the audience that admires. This zodiac sign dates are December 22nd to January 19th, which represent the end of one year and the beginning of another. Having said that, could this have been the meeting in the sky with God for Easterners? Or would God have come back between the 25th and 26th to save His people? Most people have been told that no one will ever know, nor will we be prepared. With God's guidance, anything is possible. And yes, His Spirit came to save His people during this solar eclipse. The effects were different for each individual. A lot of people experienced God's wrath during this time, yet many were saved. Although everyone desires growth, the lost often need it more. However, no one can grow without spiritual transformation, to change the old ways into new ones. While everyone needs God's blessings, the sick need them more for favor, healing, and protection. No one will ever fully prevent suffering or injury from happening because errors in the world will always exist. but don't blame, overcome, and change the narrative and thus those dynamics. Palindrome News. On Sunday, February 2, 2020, it was a palindrome date, which hasn't happened in over 900 years on November 11, 1111. God might have started rebuilding the church on this day since the year was marked for blessings and growth, which started with the solar eclipse back in December. The millennium began in 2021, and the first 40 years from its creation mark Generation 1. The 300 plus 8 plus 5 equals 313, Church, 600 plus 400 plus 100 plus 600 equals 1700, Age, 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9, equals 2022, the end of the original church age. The original church began with Adam and Eve, and it led to the church age. Hebrew and Greek numerical value words total 2022, a timeline as you can see has ended, which was the Revelation era, that brought about the bloodshed of the Druze. According to Christopher, although there were many revolts of the Druze, it was the Gentiles/Romans' greatest plan to dominate the habitable earth by provinces. This timeline between the Romans, Vespasian, and his son, Titus, military operations and 2022 is considered the dog era, and it spelled backwards is God. Some people believed that the time frame was the devil's era, because more people were leaning towards their own understanding of what was to transpire in their lives, instead of acknowledging God's guidance. After 2022, the Golden Age began, with a new era. Most people blame God for what transpired back then, but it is by design that those people were able to conquer the earth even after they died. All things and people revolve around the solar system, like the planets, which God definitely controls. However, there will be those who rebel against the original design to create a new design. They are called innovators. We all get tired of the same things and places, so we create new places and things. This confirms that we all come from the one human race, so don't ever get to a point where you disown your race because, as you can see, things will go horribly wrong, and escalate into warfare, which is of the body, mind, and soul. Oftentimes, the number can symbolize the beginning or the end of something, and this is what happened with the Christ era, the Revelation era, of that church age. So, if someone asks you now, do you believe in Jesus? Just say, it isn't that I don't believe in him, it is that his reign ended in 2022, according to the number system that was established. If they ask, do you believe in God? Just say, yes, he has always had a place in my heart. Note, in 2075 and 2076 is when the Christians supposedly come to their fullness, marked with the last 50-year jubilee. This is why I couldn't just rewrite a Bible and not include the Gentiles, because we are all God's people. All this is in reference to the Queen Mary Bible, which is for Druzdels, Druze, and Gentiles. Although, I never have been a Druze, I have been a Gentile. This discussion was created by Ms. Veronica Johnson, author of TQMB.